For those of you who haven't seen the original version of this video that I made a long time ago, annotation right there. The other version has a bit more of an emotional grip, I'd say, on my reaction to retelling the story. Now it's gotten to the point where I have been so affected by it that I can tell it, and still all the images and all the memories flood back to me, but I can still tell them without getting emotional and looking like the Joker's younger brother with the camera. However, I assure you that what I'm about to tell you is 100% true, so let's get to the story. A while ago, when I was younger, living in a smaller town, I had no friends. Simple as that. I had no one to talk to. No one liked me. I was the outcast. So naturally, I turned to the only things available, my brother and the internet. Well, eventually my brother grew up and didn't want to hang around his younger brother all the time, so the internet was the only option. And I eventually found myself on an internet chat site. Not gonna mention the name of it, because still don't want to be sued. And I met someone on there. Now, when you usually meet someone on an internet chat site, usually they're just about a 50-year-old pervert who's trying to find some kids to be like, oh, talk dirty to me because I'm totally your age. No. This time, when I met them, originally I was hesitant. I was like, oh, don't talk to me, you're 50 years old, you're not your profile picture. But then they backed it up. They provided a cell phone number, a Facebook, it was back when Facebook was the thing, you know. Even more, it was like you had to fake your age in order to get on, that kind of thing. It was ooh, stealing cookies from a cookie jar. Ooh, parents won't know because I'll never tell them. So yeah, they provided all these things, and even a Yahoo Messenger account. Back in the day, Yahoo Messenger was the only way you could video chat with someone. I mean, it sucked, and you could probably use Hotmail, but that sucked even more. So this was the thing. That's how you knew people were real. It was face-to-face communication over long distance for the first time, and it was amazing! And so that's how I knew she was real. So we started to communicate, we started to video chat, we started to text, we started to call, we started to type, I don't know. And everything, all her profiles said that she was from Oklahoma, and that she was my age. And so we talked, and talked, and talked, and talked, and talked. I got to know a lot more about her than I ever thought I would know about anyone I'd never met before in my life. Like that she grew up in apartment buildings her entire life, born of Catholic parents who fought all the time but would never get divorced because that's evil. And that this sort of feud between her parents would cause her anguish, and they would always blame her for all their problems when they got so drunk they couldn't fight at each other anymore, so they really ruined her life, essentially. And so she said that the only reason why she was even on the internet chat site in the first place was to find someone that would listen to her for once. And we've all had that moment. We've all had that time where we feel that no one can hear us. We are shouting at the top of our lungs, but no one can hear us. And that is one of the worst feelings in the world, and one of the easiest to sympathize with. And so we talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. I comforted her. She comforted me when I was having a rough time. I comforted her when times were at their worst. And we had fun when times were at their best. I swear, I got so good at the Yahoo game pool that I could challenge anyone. Until I actually got a real pool stick in my hand. I was just like, what is this magic thing? That's a topic for another video that you will never see. And this went on for about a year. Yeah. In this day and age, it's hard for us to even think about something lasting a whole year long. And back then, it meant even more. A year? That's an eternity. That's forever. And after a year of this camaraderie, going back and forth, helping each other out and all this stuff, I had grown kind of attached to her. It turns out she felt the same way. And so after a year of being pretty much each other's counselors and best friend, we hooked up. And it was perfect. It was damn perfect. We already pretty much knew each other. We had talked for so long. We already had an emotional click. We already connected, and it was perfect. Too perfect. Because after a year of already going through some of the worst times imaginable, such as her coming onto a video chat with a loaded gun to her head crying, please help me, and the only choice I had was to type and hope she doesn't do it. So after a year of that happening almost every single week, and then even another year of us being actually together as a couple, albeit over the internet, the problems got better. She didn't seem to be having as many problems, and she was happy. I'd call that a success, wouldn't you? Now, great that all of my problems hadn't gone away, but she can hardly be blamed for that. I was born into a horrid situation. But I did feel better. I felt like I was wanted by someone who wasn't my parents, or who wasn't, you know, someone old person who's trying to make me feel better because I went through worse when I was your age. I went to school, people kicking me in the face in 500 feet of snow with no clothes. Huh? It's seriously a wonder that anyone from the older generations lived to be old enough to complain about it, because oh my god, really? But anyway, so I felt good. I actually felt good. I felt like I was wanted and that I was loved. And so did she. She felt the same way. We were going back and forth and it felt so good. We finally felt alive. And so she decided around late May, my birthday's in late May, that she's going to make it better. And how do you make a long-distance relationship better, you may ask? Meeting in person. And so we had it all planned out. She was going to have her parents drive her to the airport in Oklahoma. I'm sure they have one. And she would fly from that airport to Casey International and then drive to where I live, and then we'd meet on my birthday. And of course, being the young idiot that I was, I didn't tell my parents about it. I didn't want them to say no. Advice to any young people: never do that. Your parents are there for a reason. They're trying to protect you, whether or not it seems that way or not. If they actually care, they're gonna say no sometimes. It's to make sure you don't die or have something very, very bad happen to you. What little old me imagined was that I was just gonna wait until she got to the airport and that she was already on her way there to say, oh, by the way, can I have a friend over? And I hoped that they would just respond with, yeah, sure, whatever. No. That was a horrible idea. And this is why. We were texting while she was on her way to the airport. We were like, oh, it's gonna be so cool. We were excited. You know, that kind of thing. And it was cool. It was awesome. And I was out in the driveway because she wasn't gonna be there for hours. But I was still excited. I was finally gonna meet her. After so long, I was finally gonna meet her and everything was gonna be great. And then she stopped texting me, and I didn't know why. I figured, well, maybe she's at the airport, but that couldn't help me from being irrational. I kept sending her message after message going, are you okay? What? And then I finally got a message back from her friend with some bad news. According to her friend, they had a little incident on the way to the airport. Her parents were arguing and fighting back and forth while she was in the back, not really paying attention because she was texting me, and Dad lost control of the car and drove right into a semi, and she died. Parents survived to tell a story because Lord knows who would want them to live. I don't know if you remember this or not, but back at the time that this happened, there was a British car crash commercial that came out showing the dangers of texting and driving, and there was a big controversy around this commercial because it showed pretty much exactly what it is like to be in a car crash, and what it all looks like, the shattering glass, the crunched metal, the blood, the bones, the utter helplessness of all those inside the car, and the absolute waste of human life that such a reckless act can have. And teachers just loved showing that to the kids because Lord knows they might text and drive sometime. We don't want them to happen because, well, they haven't experienced it for themselves yet, so they've got to see someone else die. Kids don't live. They don't get to experience hardship until they're old enough to make commercials about how bad things are for other people, right? Right, yeah. Turns out that this video isn't going to be as easy as I thought it would. Sorry. Anyway, so for a good week and a half, I just I wasn't there anymore. I was stunned. I didn't know how to react. I was just absolutely shattered by this, and the constant badgering of needing to see exactly how it happened didn't exactly help either. Thanks, public school system. That wasn't the end of it. You might be able to tell that there's a bit of time left on the video if you go down to the buffer bar. Yeah, there's more. Sweet Christ, there's always more. A little bit after the commercial had left the public eye, I got an email from the surviving parents. They told me that they felt that because of how much I had helped their daughter and how much time I had spent with her, I deserved to know what really happened. Now this would be a pretty good sign that something's up, you know, if I'm getting a second story that already has no proof. Like, I had researched about this. I had looked up car crashes in Oklahoma and all this stuff. I couldn't find anything. I figured big cities probably don't keep track of every little incident. They do. After their daughter's death, they decided to, you know, they had to go through everything to make sure that everything went to where they needed to go, and they went through her computer and found a video diary. Sort of similar to what I used to do on YouTube, except for it was every day for certain, and it was scripted, and it was a little more emotional than mine ever was, really. And since every day we video chatted, it was like, oh, there's something every day. Turns out that every day before we would video chat, she would film this. And that's where she would pour all of her problems out to. Because if you remember, all the problems that she seemed to be having all started to go away after a while. They started to get better. Turns out that they weren't. They were just, in fact, being told to something else. Say something, because the camera's not a person. Like you. You're just a camera. That's why I'm getting this close to you and I don't feel awkward. You do, but I don't. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I promise never to do that again. Anyway, moving on. Anyway, so this video diary, I only got to see a few key days. I was told that there was more, but that there was only a few that they wanted me to see. Things where big problems happened. I only got like 4 videos, but the last one was recorded the day before my birthday. And it was her talking about how she had been doing this video diary and she didn't want to have all these problems to go on to me. She was explaining basically why she did it, even though the parents had said it in the email. Parents and technology. This last video explained why she did it. It was to rid her problems out into this video diary so that she wouldn't have to bog me down with them, because she didn't want me to feel bad about her problems all the time. Now, seeing as how I loved this girl, I was perfectly fine with trying to help her with her problems, but I guess I appreciate the effort. That was nice. Except for the conclusion to all of these videos was a little different than the standard, oh, like, favorite, subscribe. She would conclude all of them with a last release of problems, followed by a swift boost of cheerfulness, as many depressed teenagers have come to know it as cutting. She would cut herself at the end of all of these videos, usually on some form of the body. The 4 that I had, they were all on her thigh. But she would show this. And no, this was before mainstream YouTube and my video editing interests, so it looked real. Let's just say that. It looked scarily real. And so this last video, she explained that she didn't want to have to do that in front of me, because while she was there, she didn't want to let me know. So she decided to make this one different, and on a different spot, and deeper. She chose a particularly interesting spot, and a particular length that is right here. Now, if you don't know about this particular part of it, there's nothing there. You're not going to see me doing that crap. But I don't know if you don't know about the particular part of the body. This is a major vein goes through here, one that pretty much connects directly to the heart. And so if you rupture that and you don't tie it off, or you don't cover it, or whatever, you can very quickly bleed to death, and it will bleed while your heart pumps. That type of deal. And so, right in front of the camera, she just lifted her arm and got her broken razor blade, and it did just that. Now, obviously she had a bit of an adverse reaction to this, as anyone would, and so she started to freak out. Her parents weren't there. They were off doing Catholic things. I don't know. I don't speak Catholic. I don't know what anything they do means. And she didn't know what to do, so she just freaked out, and instead of, I don't know, calling the hospital or tying it off and running into the public eye for anyone to help her, she decided to get attention in a different way. By jumping out of a window. Now, if you remember, I mentioned she lived in apartments. She lived on the 3rd floor. And she jumped out of a window. Now, her camera was perched on her desk, and her window was kind of like this. I'm looking in the viewfinder right now, kind of like this, except for closer. It was more like her chair was against the wall, and the window was the wall that it was leaned up against. And so when she jumped, she knocked over her camera. It did this number or whatever. It just fell over, and managed somehow to get in frame her body hitting the road and a car going over it. Naturally, what kind of reaction would be normal in that situation? What reaction, what impulse is supposed to happen? What signal goes from my brain to the rest of my body to justify a reaction to seeing the very person that I knew and loved for 2 years and thought died in a car wreck, and turned out she killed herself by cutting herself and then jumping out of a freaking window, hitting the ground, getting run over? What am I supposed to do to that? Turns out my natural reaction is to become a zombie for 3 months. For 3 months, I pretty much didn't live. I had no emotion. I had no drive anymore. I barely ate, which is different for me, in case you couldn't tell. I didn't sleep. I didn't interact. I didn't try for anything. Nothing seemed worth it anymore. To see something like that happen to someone you love, or just to think that kind of thing could happen at all. It sort of drains the meaning of life out of you. It drains any sort of motivation for action. It takes out any reason left. For 3 months, that's what my life was. I tried doing the same thing, not the exact same thing, but the same basic action. I tried to just not do anything, just wake up and lay there. I don't know exactly what day this was. I don't remember what time. I remember it being night when I got this message, and I got an email. It was from some New York chick, and basically it explained that she was who I knew and loved for 2 years, except for she wasn't that person. She was just the person behind that person. She was the one pulling the strings. She was the one behind the keyboard. She was the one on video chat, just under a different name. She was an actress and a video editor. Turned out that she was someone completely different. She was a girl that lived in Oklahoma until she moved off to college in New York. She took all of her stuff with her, decided to make new accounts on everything, but kept her old cell phone, her old computer, didn't change the time zones or anything, didn't change any of the profile information, she just made new ones. And so, with her newfound skills and her newfound passion in life, she decided to make a little experiment. I was the guinea pig. She used her old accounts and profiles and her cell phone number and decided to make a whole new person. Someone completely different, an alternate personality. Originally, she claimed that it was just supposed to be like an, whatever. But then she found it amusing. She was surprised that I couldn't tell, and she really just meant it as a joke. Hey, because Lord knows a fake snake in a peanut brittle bottle isn't good enough. You gotta make a fake person who dies and killed himself and... This is humor, folks. It's a freaking what? She literally ended the email with the phrase, "Gee, I hope you didn't take it too seriously. I was just joking with you." Joking. Those words. Those words. Those words are heavy. None of them are particularly long, and none of them are really cryptic. It's pretty obvious what she's saying, but those words are heavy to me. Those words mean a lot, and not necessarily in a good way. Naturally, I got rid of everything. I didn't want to see that name. I didn't want to know anything more. I did not want to have anything more to do with it. I blocked everything. I deleted everything. I never told my parents about this. I never told anyone about this. And even to this day, it's news to anyone who knows me. Really, it just seemed like I was going through puberty because I was breaking down every day at school, and I was sad, and I was antisocial, and I wonder why. So yeah, this is why I'm single, and heck of a reason, isn't it? Yeah. Has nothing to do with me being fat and weird and having a beard without a mustache. That has nothing to do with it. That's my catfish story. I hope this version turns out better than my old one, and I get less comments about, "Oh, the video sucks, you deserved it." And for those who didn't comment that and were very supportive, I got a video response, saying, karma, and I've gotten a lot of, karma's a bitch, and all that stuff, and all those mean a lot to me. I've been, I still think that I've been recovering to this day. A person's past is the foundation for their future. It's how you get to where you are now, and honestly, I don't think I'd be the same if that hadn't happened. I might be a little more sane, but hey, sane is boring, right? Like I'll ever know. But yeah, thanks to all those who have been supportive and were saying nice things. One person called me adorable. That was interesting. Made me chuckle. Just wanted to make a version of this video that wouldn't give you a headache. Gave me one. Good God. Ugh. If all I can say with what I've learned from this is the meaning of life is to live. It is necessary to live through the ups and downs, because without one there won't be the other. You got to have the good to have the bad, you have to have the bad to have the good, and you just gotta keep going. 'Cause if you don't, life's a bitch, you know? Yeah. That's a good way to end the video. Yeah. Bye.